The gigantic Asian Hercules races to move an oil rig in Singapore.
If we miss the tide, we might puncture the hull.
They're gonna delay the whole operation.
We might have disaster here.
Extreme machines in extreme conditions. Tackle the toughest jobs on the planet. This is Heavy Metal Monsters. Singapore. This is the world's biggest oil rig manufacturer.
We dominate around 60% of the world market.
The rigs built here are sent to the far corners of the world to satisfy our insatiable demand for oil. These massive drilling machines are built in separate sections, then welded together. Each finished piece must be fitted precisely into place.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle. We have to be 100% perfect to lock into that position.
Each section weighs up to 3,000 tons, and they have to be lifted. For that, you need a floating monster crane. Asian Hercules II, a giant of the seas. Height, 393 feet. Lift capacity, 3,500 tons. Engines, 7,800 horsepower diesel generators.
Even though it's such a big crane, she's very nimble. She can turn on the spot.
Today, the crew of the Asian Hercules faces a mammoth challenge. The bow of a multi-million-dollar oil rig must be transported to the other side of the harbor, dropped exactly onto these support blocks and welded to the main hull. But this section weighs 3,000 tons. Captain Mir Mahmood is the man in charge.
Well, it's a hell of a big lift. It's a big challenge, actually.
7 a.m. Captain Mahmood gathers his team.
When you work, watch your fingers. When you connect your shackles, look for your friends.
But the biggest problem for the crew is timing the operation to coincide with high tide.
It's a lift and go.
If they miss their window, it could be catastrophic.
If we miss the tide, then we're grounded. So you might puncture the hull. So you might have a disaster here.
The first challenge is to couple the rig section to the Asian Hercules crane. To lift these enormous loads takes mega ropes.
Each length is around 4,400 meters. It's almost 4.4 kilometers in one length.
Below deck, 3 giant diesel generators supply power to massive winches, carefully controlled from the bridge. Despite the crane's power, this 3,000-ton lift will test Asian Hercules to the max.
Basically, she's on the limits.
Lifting manager Thet Tuzah first attaches 2 giant slings to the crane's hook. Each sling carries 4 cables, which connect to the rig's 8 anchor points.
Every lift is a challenge for us. Every aspect we have to check to ensure this is a safe lift.
The heavy-duty slings help distribute the massive weight.
We need to get in a special cable to lift up this weight because normal sling is not enough for this capacity.
Pull the pot easier.
With the slings attached, Captain Mahmood guides Asian Hercules across the busy harbor.
Our swing clear.
Yeah, get clear, mate. Thank you.
Okay.
And carefully maneuvers the 300-foot vessel into place in front of the rig. But storm clouds on the horizon signal a warning.
If we have any lightning, we have no go for the lift. The guys on the shore might be electrocuted when they hold any part of the metal.
If the wind speed hits 15 knots, they can't operate.
This block is very huge. The crane is also huge. It's like a sail on a ship. So if there's a wind, it will just blow off.
Bosun Louis is in charge of attaching the cables to the rig. But the cables are tangled. They've been left in a gap just 2 meters wide, and they're stuck. Chief Engineer Mr. Shobandran is worried they're going to miss their window.
If we miss the tide, we have to wait for another 6 hours. They're gonna delay the whole operation. Every hour is cost money.
The clock is ticking. If they mistime this lift, Asian Hercules could be grounded in the falling water. Singapore Harbor. The gigantic floating crane Asian Hercules is preparing to lift a 3,000-ton section of oil rig. But the 11-inch thick lifting cables have become entangled in the crowded shipyard. Each 170-foot-long cable weighs over 20 tons, but any twists or kinks can cause them to fail.
We have to ensure that the cable does not twist. Any twist, then the wire might be damaged. Once the wire damaged, definitely we cannot carry out the lift.
The crew has to move the rig at high tide or risk a grounding. They race to attach the giant 2-ton shackles. Eventually, Bosun Louis manages to free the cables, and they are quickly hoisted up into position. Now, the shackles must be attached to the 8 anchor points on the rig. But time is running out. Finally, the crane and rig are connected. The deck is cleared, and the lift is on.
Okay, guys, are you ready?
On the bridge, Captain Mahmood begins pretensioning the gigantic cables.
All right, good, you're on 70%.
Asian Hercules takes the strain. But the massive weight of the rig tips the crane forward. It's dangerously unstable. So to balance the deck, ballast tanks at the back take in 6,000 tons of seawater.
If we do not balance the tanks, she will just sink, or the whole crane will just topple forward.
The ballast helps stabilize the crane, but with the lifting window closing fast, the crew needs to move before the tide leaves them high and dry. Singapore Harbor. The gigantic floating crane Asian Hercules is about to lift the 3,000-ton oil rig section.
All right, Louis, let's start the lift.
Inch by inch, the huge chunk of metal rises into the air. Even with 6,000 tons of ballast on board to counteract the weight, the front of the crane sits just inches above the water.
When you start the lift, we can't stop, so the clock starts ticking, and we have to race against time. Louis, I'm swing to port, Louis.
Captain Mahmood steers the crane out into the harbor. A minute later, and Asian Hercules would have been grounded in the falling water.
We were to the extreme of the tidal constraint. I think we are only 10 or 20 millimeters above the seabed. Just watch out for any fast craft.
Chasing the tide, the crew prepares to run a 3-mile gauntlet across one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world.
I'm one on our starboard side. We have to monitor the passing vessels. Fast boat or fast tugboat creates swell. It will create some problem for us. It will cause the weight of the blocks to sway from left to right.
The huge weight of the bow section is pushing Asian Hercules to the limit. With the front of the crane so close to the water, a swell now could swamp the deck and push the crane under. Edging towards the opposite dock, these are nail-biting moments. Captain Mahmood sights the giant floating dock that holds the main section of the rig. Now he must swing the final piece of the puzzle into place. But it's suddenly clear that the rig is on a collision course with the towers of the floating dock.
We have to go over the tower.
Later, you go. I need to start next turn.
How much you want? How much you need?
Another 4 or 5 something.
The only solution is to lift the rig over. But the higher it gets, the more unstable it becomes. Singapore Harbor. The crew of the Asian Hercules have made it across the shipping lanes. But now the towers of the floating dock are dangerously close to the suspended rig.
Elengo, you starboard side, boss Elengo?
I mean, the starboard side. Need to see the starboard, I think, 5, 6 inches.
On the bridge, Captain Mahmood uses the power of the floating crane to hoist the massive section up and over.
Fred, how many meters more to go up? Block stop. High enough, huh?
Hanging more than 65 feet in the air, any sudden movements could spell disaster.
Alpha, pull to port, half speed. We have to go inching very slowly.
The final hurdle is cleared. The section starts its descent. But Asian Hercules has a fixed crane, so must line up exactly with the target.
We have to join very precise, so you have to be 100% perfect.
Asian Hercules inches forward. But then Captain Mahmood spots one of his team right underneath the 3,000-ton suspended rig.
There's one guy on our bow here, he's standing there. You tell that tutor guy to go off, the guy, when we lift off, nobody is to be go under the load. It's one of the most important criteria for the safety reason.
Until it's safe, the giant section is going nowhere. Finally, the worker beats a hasty retreat, and Captain Mahmood is clear to go.
Louis, okay, now we're coming slowly, huh?
Asian Hercules lowers the giant section into place. But with just a foot to go, the crew on top of the rig hits a snag. The new section is catching on pipes, sticking out from the existing structure. But the crane is at full stretch.
You cannot come ahead anymore, already touching, so they might need to cut.
The pipes must be cut, and quickly. The super-fast crew cut and run. And Asian Hercules lowers the 3,000-ton section into position.
Thank you very much, guys. Okay. Good job, well done. Okay, Louis, thank you very much. In a team effort, everybody plays a part.
Asian Hercules 2 did a good job. We are very happy.
With the huge structure now complete, the sections are welded together. Soon, this giant rig will be ready for business.